Coach Peña here for the Football Engineer, and today we got Coach Anthony Vargas, founder of Second Chance Football, coach for FC Legends SoCal, and the head coach for the Select JUCO team, as well as an assistant at Concordia University from Pomona, California. How are you doing today, bro?
Good, good. How are you? Pleasure having me. Thank you.
Doing good, doing good. Tell me a little bit about what you do with the Second Chance Football organization.
Yeah, as far as the Second Chance organization, it's something that, I kind of brought together as far as, giving insight to college students, to not only college students, but prospective athletes as far as their college path. With that comes advice, mentorship, as well as kind of giving them a route as far as email templates. So stuff that it's almost like a resource hand in hand to really much help them in their own individual process. We know that, there's many routes to get to, certain division as well as, making sure that it's the right fit for them. I want to help athletes making sure it's the right fit for them and not, just a journey that's, they get there and they're not enjoying it. And obviously for us as an organization, it's making sure that our name is being carried in a positive way where, we're very reliable with not only athletes, but also coaches and programs as well.
Yeah, and then what did you see, or when did you realize that there was a need for a program like this?
As far as when I came to the realization of when I had graduated, coming out of playing Division One, I thought that it was a good idea to really much create a platform, a community platform for college students, for college players, to really much understand, where I was coming from, going from a JUCO to Division One, and how the not only the athletic side of things, but also the academic side of stuff,
Yeah,
the making NCAA policies, whatnot, all that. So making sure that they're able to understand kind of the different routes you could take and different mentorship and availabilities that every college program offers. It's making sure that like I mentioned, and making sure that it's the right fit for everyone. And that's when I was like, it's something that I appreciate, giving back to the community as far as my insight, what I know, my knowledge, and that's what kind of was how it came about.
yeah. And then what role do you believe your organization should play in the local soccer community, maybe just beyond training of, say, the JUCO or college students and getting them to transfer in terms of like mentorship or leadership or just increasing the accessibility of soccer for others?
Yeah, for me, it's like I mentioned, kind of catering off with the community. I feel like my job is to be more definitely community based. So be out there, even for 7, 8 year olds. It's like
Yeah,
it's never too early to start as far as your college process. So for me, it's like being out in the community, making them aware of how college works, the scenarios, different pathways. So definitely for me, it's much more community engagement as far as how, if I could be out there and really much make that happen for not only JUCO players but high school players, middle school players,
yeah,
elementary school players that are interested in kicking the ball. But I feel like going along that they relate to you as far as you've been there, you've played Division One, you played at the highest level, and they also want to be a part of that. 7, 8 year olds, I've seen it.
yeah. And then how do you how do you measure success at an organizational level with Second Chance Football? Like, are you measuring it in the amount of players you get into college, or opportunities that you're creating, or just building character and development over time through this process?
I would say the success is built around kind of just opportunities every player gets, and I feel like
Yeah,
with that, with the opportunities and the platform we give for players is important. I go back to every player has a different pathway, and I feel like kind of catering off that is just something that we try to help implement as far as many opportunities for players. So as maximize as many opportunities, we try to help players not only get their name out there, but also give them mentorship advice, and obviously something that we just try to make the most of as far as opportunities for them. And for me, that's kind of the biggest satisfaction. Is not about how many players at the end are committed or X, Y, and Z. It's just about the process and the journey. Because I feel like that's
yeah,
where you see a lot of success as far as opportunities. Obviously signings can happen if opportunities don't come about. And with that being said, I feel like every athlete gets an opportunity, whether that's NAIA, Division One, Division Two, Division Three, JUCO. Every athlete will like eventually get an opportunity. As far as college soccer is just much more so. Where are you trying to land? Where's your focus? and obviously the athletic side comes into the ability as well. But more so just providing opportunities. I feel like that's for us, that's our bread and butter, and trying to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think kind of what you said. There's like thousands and thousands of colleges out there and opportunities for everyone to kind of find the academics and athletically to find a place that fits for them, as well as looking into like the pro game. There's so many different levels of semi-pro and professionally for people to find a place to play. And I think that's kind of
Mm.
an understated thing, and that everybody thinks that you have to play Division 1 or like a even like in the top professional leagues. And there's so many opportunities to just go out and play football.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like you said, like you mentioned, opportunities are everywhere. It's much more so what's your journey, what's your path. And for me, it's always kind of been, and I'm thankful to have gone to such a successful program, at Cal Baptist. It's like, what's your why? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And obviously, yes, my goal is to be pro and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's just much more. I found much more value in myself in helping other players and helping other programs and, giving back to the
Yeah.
community. So for me, that's my biggest gratitude as far as sense of gratitude to really much give back to the community.
And then what's your long-term vision for growth for your organization? How do you hope your organization grows with Second Chance Football in the next 4 to 5 years?
As far as us as an organization, we're trying to nationally be recognized. Within that comes, we're trying to host ID camps, trying to host different events. Obviously, we're trying to more focus on the nonprofit sides because since we don't profit, right? So
Yeah.
much of our things come from really much just experience and the level of education as far as people that would get in. But more so just really much just having the exposure, trying to get exposed nationally as far as if we can make this, much bigger than it is, then just kind of be a helpful resource. Not really much trying to, I'm not trying to have compete with other agencies or certain programs. It's just much more so like, hey, like we're here, we're available, we're a resource, and we just want everyone to feel welcomed at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then what separates Second Chance Football from like the other organizations that you mentioned? Why should a player go to you to look for help and to get placed?
Yeah, like for us, like we said, we try to be very finite as far as like where we're trying to place every player, and I always try to tell them like, hey, like take your opportunities. Yes, we're trying to be realistic. Yes, we're trying. Yes, your hope is obviously Division 1, but we obviously give them exposure to other opportunities. And much more we're much more based as far as maybe this is a different pathway you could take as far as mentorship, and then we could build that. We'll build that around you. So we kind of formulate a plan and what we could do a 2 3 year plan with the player, and then we formulate it backwards as far as what their end goal is. How can we make that work for them? So definitely I've talked to players where we've recommended them going to do JUCO 1 year. They've gone to play Division 1. They've done Division 2 1 year. They've gone to play transferred to play Division 1. So obviously we try to get as much more of the athlete than have them sign Division 1 and then for them to be sitting on the bench because I feel like that's not an
Yeah.
enjoyable experience for any athlete, to be honest, quite honest with you. So for me, it's much more you're in the sport because you're playing. That's the bottom line. That's because you want to play. And so I feel like making sure that they're in a community, in a college setting where they're getting valued as a player, as a person, and obviously as an academic student is important.
Yeah, and then kind of what you mentioned about like finding the right fit and not being on the bench. If your long-term aspirations are to play pro or to play at a higher level, even than college or after college, that you're still in a developmental period. People think development ends at 18, but really if you have long-term aspirations, you're always developing. So you have to find the right fit that's still going to continue to develop you as a player and as a person on top of educationally as well.
No, yeah, 100%. Obviously, there's always the saying that you could always improve in something, even as a person. Definitely,
Yeah.
apply same thing on the soccer field or on the football field. It's something that always improving something. But like you mentioned, you can't if being on the bench 17 out of 18 games, or 17 out of the 18 games in your in Division 1, it doesn't work out. So, kind of with that being said, it's just much more finding a suitable place where you're developing, where you're getting reps, where you're getting game-like scenarios and game
Yeah.
time, right? And then replicating that and developing.
And then staying kind of in the recruiting space, when is a good time for young athletes to begin the recruiting process, and what would you recommend? Like how should that look?
As far as, when a good time is, I feel like starting always early. If you're able to really much engage with college coaches, and it doesn't have to be as far as, writing paragraphs, writing emails every week. It's just much more kind of, updating them as far as, camps, as far as showcases you're going to, as far as games, little maybe awards you've received that specific weekend or things. Then it just incentivizes them as far as like you're being proactive, because number one, I feel like out of everything, being proactive is important, just because then it entices coaches that saying, oh, they want to come to my program, they want to be here. So making sure that you're being proactive within a reasonable time, and I'm saying reasonable time just because I've seen a lot of athletes send emails and emails and emails and emails. But what are you also doing on the pitch? What are you doing academically?
Yeah,
So it's obviously like a balance as far as making sure that you're doing everything kind of almost slowly, but at the same time all together. Making sure you're perfecting on the field, you're perfecting your relationships, because I feel relationships are really important. Kind of going, relationship based are really important as far as how you kind of put your name out there with college coaches and at ID camps and at showcases. So definitely making sure you slowly carry that, and also academic side. So can
yeah,
you
yeah.
have those three implementations to really much create a foundation for yourself? And that's the biggest separation, to be honest with you. I see there's hundreds and hundreds of prospective athletes that want to play at the next level. But it's something that you have to ask yourself as far as if you do, it's like what's gonna separate me from everyone else? What it's gonna separate my email from someone else? What's gonna separate me on the field from someone else? And academically, what's gonna separate me? So definitely those three components, as far as the separation, it comes down to kind of the components that I explained right now.
And then around what age or what like school grade would you say is a good time to start the process?
Definitely, I would say your fall of your junior year in high school. Definitely, I feel like that's when you should already, have already email set up as far as who you're gonna send them to, colleges, as far as who's gonna be your safe school. It's important to have safe schools. It's important to have reach schools, where those are like the typically end up being the higher end. And
Okay.
also as well as kind of creating a plan for yourself as far as, okay, maybe I want to attend and reach school ID camp or a safe school ID camp. Then you're already creating a relationship, not only just off showcases and games. You're creating relationships on at ID camps that you're planning for obviously for years to come. So definitely making sure that you're on the right track as far as the planning is definitely important. And that's what I try to help with second chance. It's something that what's your planning, what's your goal, what's your safe school, because a lot of guys don't know what their safe schools are. What schools are you targeting? So definitely it's important as far as it's never too early to start, but definitely it picks up as far as coaches looking at you your junior year of high school. That's when things pick up as far as the prospective athletes.
And then how do you feel about the use of social media in the recruiting process? I know it seems like now there's kids that are like 7 or 8 who have soccer pages on social media. It's kind of insane, I would say, in that everybody's trying to get recruited through social media and through putting up highlights on social media and things like that. And like I said, I think it's kind of gotten insane because now you have like 6 and 7 year olds on Instagram with like soccer pages. And I've kind of seen when I was running my working with the semi-pro program as a coach, kids would send us
Uh,
videos to come over to our team, and I'm watching a video from like 2 or 3 years ago, trying to see if the kid has like improved, and I'm like, the kid is just as good as he was then, but I haven't seen any improvement in 2 or 3 years either. So it's kind of like I think there's an adverse side to social media as well, because when you're starting at like 6 or 7 and you're journaling 12, 13 years of soccer until you get to college, we can track your whole development almost and see like, hey, did this person actually develop, or as me as the coach, that's what I see at least. But how do you feel about social media in the college space as the kids are coming up?
Yeah, I feel like social media, like you mentioned, it could be something that it could be beneficial, and at the same time, like you said, it's something that it could be regressive as far as this, like the social aspects of things. But as far as kind of seeing that the younger generation, having more athletic profiles, I'd say that it's
Yeah.
highly encouraged. Definitely, I highly encourage it as far as making sure that you're keeping track of your own development and keeping track of as far as your own. soccer, your own journey. And for us, that helps us kind of also identify, kind of like you mentioned, your growth. But overall, definitely, it's something that we, at least I don't take into consideration until like you're already in around high school level.
Yeah,
Because we want you to grow, we want you to develop, but I'm not going to see a player that's like technically or criteria to a player, right? Or judge a player when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. I feel
yeah,
like that's, kind of the foundation of development. And obviously how you develop is how much you're wanting to succeed. And I feel like that's part of, within individual determination. But overall, I feel like I said, it's just something that it's great to have. It's good. I feel like it's a good thing. I think I should have done that as a player back then, which, I feel like we all could have done. But I feel like it works in ways where, like you said, sometimes a player, and I've seen it where I've seen even in prospective athletes, you see okay, well, this player hasn't kind of attracted us, hasn't grown, hasn't developed, and it helps us kind of obviously dictate kind of where things are with that specific player or those specific players. So definitely it could work, for you, it could work against you. It all just depends how well. No, I wouldn't say have a control on it, but I would say definitely making sure that you're doing things on the field that replicate what you're posting, and you're doing a phenomenal job. Then obviously I feel like that replicates within what you're doing and within like your development.
yeah. And I have an interesting idea for you, and this is probably why I'm not a college coach. But I feel like so everybody submits pretty much, a highlight video. But I feel like the biggest thing I've seen with a lot of college players is I me as a coach, I want to see how you are on your worst day because the highlights are great. So you see the
Mm-hmm.
best of that player, and sometimes consistency is a big thing and everybody has a bad day. And I've seen players, even in the college game, where their worst day, like they're falling over the ball. You're stumbling, you're missing touches, but you don't see that in a highlight video. So when somebody's going through adversity, when they're struggling, sometimes you get that player, but you don't see that in the highlight video because you're getting the very best of them in the highlight video. So my
Yeah,
sort of
no,
thing
correct.
is,
No, I was gonna say as far as highlight video, as personally me, I like it's fine. Like highlight videos are fine, I'd say, but I always try to ask if it's engaging. Like the highlight video is it's a top highlight video. I always ask for 1 or 2 games as far as full game, full
yeah,
90-minute games, because for me, then it shows me not only what you're doing on the ball, what are you doing off the ball, what are you doing on
yeah,
transition moments, what are you doing on the defensive work, right? So there's a lot of aspects of the game that a highlight video doesn't cover, or it covers very small of it,
yeah,
glimpses of it. So for me, it's always if there's always interest on a player, it's okay. The highlight video is good. I would watch. I want to watch more. Then can you send me 2 full games, 2 full 90-minute games? Right. Then from
yeah,
there, then it kind of it's a sense of judgment. Okay, I understand the player, the personality, how he is on the field. And then after that, you just ask for feedback. I'll touch base on that as far as how club coaches and feedback works. But yeah, to answer your question, that's what I personally look at.
perfect. And then can you walk us through the sort of process of the transfer portal, transferring between schools, and also how it works from moving from like a JUCO to a NCAA school or NAIA school?
Yeah. So as far as the transfer portal, there's 2 transfer windows that I think at least that I know there's a transfer window in the fall. There's a transfer window, I believe, as well in the spring. But as far as the transfer portal, you see it a lot nowadays with a lot of athletes, just because they do want to reach their maximum potential to really much help them with their playing, their stats, or maybe players that aren't playing. So I feel like their transfer portal is something that helps a lot of players overall. Whether they're not comfortable, whether they were seeking something else, and obviously programs as well. The transfer portal works as far as you have a one-on-one with the coach. Make sure that you guys are on the same page as far as the transfer portal. And once you get released by the school to go on the transfer portal, obviously you're there for transfer portal. The only con is obviously if, for instance, if you're on the transfer portal, then some programs have the leeway to take the scholarship money away. So how it works is, okay,
Yeah,
you want to be on transfer portal, fine, but you won't be awarded scholarship money next semester, or this would be the deadline of your scholarship money. And then from there, then obviously as an athlete, you have to make a decision whether what do you want from it. That's not always the case, but sometimes it does happen that way. It just depends, obviously, on the coach, the programs, and whatnot. But that's kind of the transfer portal, in a whole. And we see it now. You see even top Division 1 players, want to transfer out, just because they want something better for them. And it's great to see. And for us as college coaches and college programs, it's something that we more so support because we obviously want to better our teams every year. Something we want to better our teams every year, and it's something that gives us a platform to really much kind of look at and see, hey, like this player maybe didn't get as many starts, but maybe we give them a chance and they end up being the player of the year. And I've seen stories like that as
Yeah.
well. And going back to what I was saying, it's making sure like maybe it wasn't the right fit for them as well, and they decided to move out. So all that could be into kind of transfer portal talk, but kind of that's kind of the emphasis of it. And now kind of more into the JUCO kind of things. I see the JUCO obviously is a two year program where you play junior college for 2 years. You could be one or two. And from there on, you're able much to throughout that time to could build connections with college coaches, go to ID camps, have communication with them, and much more so, you have the ability to really much already kind of be at a much mature level as far as on the field, and obviously as a person to really decide in what school, what journey you want to take, what pathway, and more so, it's something that I feel like it's at that point you're coming into a program where you have more ability to get more minutes than if you maybe were coming on as a freshman in that program.
Yeah.
So you have that experience as far as because JUCO is it's a rough game. JUCO I feel like some JUCO programs I would say would compete with Division 1 programs. And obviously it's a good platform. It's a good platform here in Southern California. We have the top JUCOs probably in the country, some of them, and it's great. It's great for the sport. I feel like it helps. It helps college soccer. The JUCO environment. It helps players overall develop as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then, what do you do with the JUCO Select team? I know you're the head coach there, and I know there's other JUCO Select teams around the country, but what do you do with the one in Southern California?
Yeah, we're here with the one in Southern California, so we all come together. We pick kind of I would say kind of a roster of 30. It's kind of the best JUCO players, and with that comes good GPA. Are they good on the field? How were they during the regular season? So definitely it's demanding as far as what players we get. We want to get top players, and with that we top colleges, but we play top universities that maybe are interested in having fixtures against us, and much more so really kind of almost hand in hand help both programs as far as us, as far as the institution we're playing, and it's something that I feel like it benefits both programs, and they're seeing it's much more for exposure. We do this to give exposure to junior college players, and also give them a taste of as well in the spring of what how the physical criteria of a four-year institution. So definitely, it's different. It's surprising. Junior college from a four-year institution, the physicality is much different. It's you're running, you have to be stronger, you have to be faster. So for them, it's good to see that. It's good to see this. Then come fall, and they're in a culture shock, and then all of a sudden, they're not where they want to be. So it's a good
Yeah.
platform to also really much have a foot forward than trying to play catch up come fall.
And then can you walk us through the structure of a typical training session when you're coaching the JUCO Select team?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as the structure, I always try to replicate the competitiveness. I feel like competition makes teams better overall. So really much the competitiveness, the competitive nature of making sure that everyone's competing at a high level and trying to get the demands of being a team that attacks, that prolifically attacks going forward. We want to create clear goal scoring opportunities, and as well as making sure that we focus on the elements of working as a unity. I have a saying that individual success comes from team success. So if the team's not doing well, then individually you're not going to get seen. It's something that if the team's doing well, the team's working together. If we're in a collective spirit, we're training together. We're all in it together. Then I feel like there's opportunities for everyone. Then individual talent comes out and individual brilliance comes out, as they like to call it. So definitely, everything we do, we try to cater it towards the division, kind of mirroring Division 1 training sessions as far as the competitive nature. We want players to compete. We want players to compete in an environment where they're not as comfortable. They're not as comfortable. Even the players that score 30, 40 goals, the junior college season it's like, how can you get better? How can
Yeah.
because we want when they get signed, or if they get signed, we want them already when they go to their programs, they're already come in flying, come in at a adaptive kind of response for them.
And then as a I know you're a youth coach for Legends FC down in Orange County. How does your session differ as a head youth coach to say the JUCO Select team?
Yeah, definitely. As far as the youth club, the youth soccer overall, it's much more kind of the still the development structure, but also yet introducing a competitive environment to them. Yeah, I'm much more focused on the kind of on the why of things. Like, hey, like why are you making this pass? What else? So definitely making sure that they're not just playing, but understanding right why they're doing things and the development of stuff. Like why do we play one touch instead of two? So why do we open over hips? So definitely those are kind of examples, but definitely much more developmental, right? Much more so of
Yeah.
you do and then you correct. So that's more that's what kind of what's been working for me as far as how I've been taking the youth and it's kind of been successful. Kind of you do and then how give feedback. You do practice play, practice play kind of methods as far as kind of in the U.S. soccer grassroots, I like to call it. But what's it called? It's good for the youth to really much kind of understand why of things, and for them to hear someone that's obviously a coach, at a Division 2 or JUCO Select team, or someone that's obviously went through the whole process himself.
And then sticking on the topic of development, would you say it's more important with the youth to develop the technical side or more the tactical side and the why? I know there's a big debate right now, and there's everybody either does tactical or technical from a young age, pretty much, and either developing the thought and the speed of play or more the technical side.
Yeah, for me, it's much more so of the tactical side, just because,
Okay.
and I say that because I feel like both are important. I feel like both go hand in hand. I feel more so as a player, and obviously as a program, if you can't be technical, then how are you supposed to understand the tactical side? So, but
Yeah.
if I were to select one, just because I would say just because the tactical side of things, it's like you said, it understands the why. Why do you have to move into this space? And I feel like the technical side of things, you could get a private trainer for one. You could do
Yeah.
it on your own. So technical side, you could always improve on it. Whether it doesn't have to be necessarily like in a team environment. It could be individual environment. As far as you taking a private trainer, you doing some extra reps, some extra work, an hour before training sessions. So that'll be more on you. So that's why the tactical side is much more important as far as positioning, spacing, the structure, the building structure, defensive structure, all those. It's much more important as far as, what we're trying to communicate with kind of the development of the youth, the youth programs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I mean, I work with, from 3 and 4 year olds all the way up to, high school age kids. And I always start with the tactical because I feel like technically, like you watch Ronaldo, you watch Messi, these guys are still out on the field putting in work technically. Like you can never be technical enough. Technically, you never stop developing. But tactically, if you don't have the
Exactly.
base, you just don't have it. You see high school age kids who don't understand where to be on the field, or even sometimes coming into a semi-pro program or college program where tactically they're behind, and then that's a big gap to bridge for sure.
Yeah, and you said it. Like I've seen, even at the highest of levels, like it's a soccer IQ. It's like they just tactical soccer IQ is not there. And they're
Yeah,
really good athletes as far as like
yeah,
physically, technically, but tactically, it's just like they sometimes, they probably weren't taught that as far as like soccer IQ, the tactical side of things, soccer, the IQ of the game, what the game's giving you. Um, you much more so play, 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 play. You're so much more like this, and then having your eyes open as far as what else is being given to me. So definitely, as far as that, and like I said, the technical side is great. Like I said, for youth incoming, like the youth, as far as you mentioned 3 or 4 year olds, 5 year olds, it's always great as far as integrating it into your training sessions. But I feel like as you get older, then it should be like less of a thing as far as where you
yeah.
less technical stuff, more of tactical, more of game related scenarios, because that's how you're going to grow and basically learn and develop.
Yeah. And then in your own words, how would you describe your coaching style?
As far as my coaching style is much more offensive and yet creative. I don't like having, setting boundaries or being someone that, you're only going to do this X, Y, and Z. I like having players that, just think out of the box as far as offensively. Can you be, I always ask players, can you be an offensive threat for us? Can you make it hard for the other team to defend you offensively? Even if you're a center back, you can make it happen. Even if you're a right back, you can make it happen. So definitely making sure that they have the liberty to feel comfortable going forward. Feel comfortable, on the ball,
Yeah.
feel comfortable going forward. For me, mistakes, I've never been on someone about mistakes or anything like that. I feel like it's just like a learning aspect of the game. You learn by doing, you learn by going forward and taking risks, and that's part of the game. That's just part of the game. If you risk and we get scored on, then that's part of the game. How can we the next game be better? But definitely, I like being very offensive mindset going forward. And then as far as the defensive structure, it's can we work in cohesion together to get the ball back? As far as are we all pressing together, making sure that we're not getting broken in between lines? So definitely, as far as making sure that we're working in the collective, both offensively and defensively. I like playing very simple soccer's always worked out for me when I played at college in the college
Yeah.
world. So for me, it's much more can you keep it one or two touches, get the ball up the field, and then be creative. And I feel like that it shows more than being what you're not as far as on the ball. Can you
Yeah.
support it? And a lot of the times as well, like I like players that are vocal, move off the ball, instinct of being everywhere and being the guy. So definitely we give that liberty, but definitely players that wanna engage are open-minded.
And then do you have a preferred formation?
Honestly, lately I've been liking the 3-4-3 formation. I
Okay.
was stuck with either 4-2-3-1, 4-2-3-1 or 3-4-3, and I would say that because I feel like it allows for much fluidity. I feel like you
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
invert it, you could bring back a six and then drop a mid six in the midfield. You can bring a winger high, but more so, I feel like it just kind of, for me, like I said, I like being on the offensive side. So for me, I like attacking more than defending. And obviously, yes, we do
Yeah.
have to cover defending structures, but for me, it's much more so. Can we go forward? Can we be the initiator of the game, set the tone, and can we go forward? Put the team on the back on the back ends and the back heels, and then definitely from there, just obviously work on depending on what the other team's throwing at us. Obviously you see a lot of the times the soccer's changing. Before you see a
Yeah.
4-3-3, what Guardiola used to play. Now in the
Yeah.
college world, you're seeing different formations, 3-5-2, 3-4-3. So definitely, I've seen even now, like it's very modern as far as what every college plays, every team plays, and it's unique because, like I said, it's drifting away from kind of the traditional 4-3-3, you know, um,
Yeah.
aspect of the game, which you'd see every team play. But now it's much more. I feel like even in the college world, it's much more unique as far as different formations and the personnel that allows for that.
Yeah. And then another tactical question for you: do you set your team up based off of structure, like formationally, or do you tend to set them up more based off of player traits and identities and who they are as players?
Yeah, I much more have like a plan as far as who they are as players, like I said, and what that player could give offensively, as far as
Yeah.
making sure that I want to put a player based off making sure that they're succeeding in that position and making sure that they're helping us move the ball up the field, making sure that we're being a threat for the other team. And we're planning that as well as kind of going back to college season or the college realm is much more so as well as like how is the other team playing us? Are they in a 4-3-3 system? How is this if this player is fast? How can we integrate him into being a threat down the line? So definitely, it's almost like a chess match in a way.
Yeah.
But and it is. It's almost like a chess match. You'll see it at the pro level. You see it at the college level. It's like, okay, well, this coach threw this piece in. How do I counter that? Make it better. So definitely, it is like a chess match. But more so, I really much go with players that I feel that are going to be successful as that, and in that environment based off as well as of who we're playing. If I know that
Yeah.
we're playing against some fast forwards, I know that I'm probably gonna go back to a four in the back maybe, to start off.
Yeah.
So definitely it kind of determines on the player personnel, their qualities or adaptabilities, but also as far as, kind of where I'm shadowing as far as who the opponent or who I'm playing. So it comes down to that as well.
Yeah, because I always think like everybody talks about the formation, and formations are really just formations on paper because you have like the idea, like you said, that the 3-4-3,
Hmm.
maybe the two wing backs are very defensive type players, so it's gonna look more like a 5-2-3, or if they're very attacking, then it's more like a
Hmm.
3-2-5 shape, or like I said, formations, even with wingers, if you have a winger that likes to cut inside, maybe he's finding the pocket and the half space more. So it's more like he's playing like a 10. So formations are really
Yeah.
just formations at the start, and traits really dictate where players end up at in terms of positioning on the pitch.
100%, 100% as far as what you said. Like I said, it's something that kind of replicates as far as, the traits of a player and how we could exploit that to their advantage.
Yeah. And then as a young coach, what advice do you have for other young coaches as they're sort of starting out or in their journey?
Yeah, I would definitely say, much more so it's doing everything you do at 100%. I feel like things that I've been coaching for, it's going to be my second year, the second 2 years. I haven't had much coaching as far as been in coaching a long time, but what's helped me is much more so just want to do it. I've always had a set like initiation as far as wanting to do it, wanting to make my teams better, wanting to engage with players. Like how can I make individual players better, collective teams better, and better. I'm not saying just better, just by saying better, but better in a way where the character in every single person is just like how can I build, how can I be a better impact or a bigger impact in this person. It could be on the field, it could be off the field. So for me, that's what's helped me and what's kind of been driven me to really much, kind of reflect on all this as far as, what I'm doing, and really much more so just taking it day by day and putting in the work and starting. And it's not easy, it's not easy. As a coach, it's work, at the coaching world, it's high quality, high demand. But there's obviously, even at the youth level, you see a price that money can't pay. And it's just like that. The enjoyment of, the enjoyment, the smiles, the laughters, when things are going good. And even when things are going bad, it's just, you see how you are as a coach and as a character. And obviously you trying to help young men and kids and young athletes to battle through adversity and obviously get results.
Yeah, and then I think as much as we as coaches shape players, they kind of shape us as people too. They give us a different perspective on life, especially in the youth game, and kind of shape us as people too, especially now, as adults and as we grow older. It kind of shapes us as well. Just seeing their joy and the way they handle things, and it shapes us as well too.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like as far as even the youth, you see that, and I feel like even now, it's just like even I've seen a lot of youth are being much more receptive. I've seen club levels that they're being receptive to the information that's being given because they're enjoying it. They want to learn, they want to be there, and above all else, they want to play, so they want to have fun. And I see it,
Yeah,
based off, their how hard they try. And like you said, we as coaches, I've learned a lot from players. I've learned, maybe how to even have conversations as far as every player is different, and
yeah,
I've learned that at the youth game, it's how to maybe yelling for one player is different from giving instruction to the next, maybe that's what gets them going. So every player is different, on the field, and it's just much more so how do you make that player give him that sort of confidence in a way where he's out there, he's out competing at a great level.
yeah. And then you were a very successful college player. How has that shaped you as a coach, and how has your playing experience shaped you as a coach?
Yeah, as far as kind of playing, I've always taken the rough roads as far as, kind of growing up, first generation to go to college, first son, right? And so for me, it
Yeah,
was much more kind of setting the tempo, not only for which is college, but also for my siblings. So definitely always had to work hard. And it's something that it was always a dream of mine to play at the Division 1 level. And for me, what I took away from that was much more seeing. I found even myself that, seeing the game much more than what the game is played for. And I'm saying that by much more like being a student of the game, much more being a
yeah.
player of the game. And for me, that's always kind of worked. And I've taken that from playing to coaching now. being a student of the game, and much, and not just focusing on the ball, but also as far as the other pieces. And that's helped me. I've enjoyed playing, but yeah, as far as that's how it shaped me, as far as being proactive, being tentative to other things that are going on, not just the soccer ball. I want to be, and it helped me as far as even playing, being 2 or 3 steps ahead when I received the ball or when I got space. So being 2 or 3 steps ahead in coaching, it makes a big difference. Seeing the bigger picture makes a big difference, and just being proactive in those things. Because if I'm not being proactive, then I'm where everyone else is, living the ball, living the moment, which is great. But you're not
Yeah.
planning for, you're doing what everyone else is doing. You're not planning for something to change
And
in
then,
your own betterment.
yeah, then you mentioned being first generation, coming from like Latino and Hispanic background. There aren't many Latino or Hispanic coaches in the NCAA, especially head coaches. And why do you think that is, and how can we improve that?
Mhm. I don't know, to be honest with you, to be quite frank, but I know that there's opportunities as far as, out there. I know there's
Yeah,
obvious there's opportunities. I know that a lot of even this fall, I know I'm not sure I know a Latino coach was hired for in the East as a head coach. But what I'm trying to say is there are opportunities out there. I've seen them. I've seen opportunities as far as but as well, it comes down to what it comes down to as far as coaching ability is how are you doing the work as assistant. I feel like
yeah,
a lot of the times everyone wants to be a head coach of a top Division 1 program, but I feel like with that comes a lot of sacrifice. Just like players, it's a
yeah,
lot of sacrifice as far as um, putting in the work. Even as a volunteer coach, can you volunteer for a whole season, without getting paid, and you bettering yourself as a coach at an institution?
yeah, yeah,
Can, so stuff like that. And it builds character, it builds resume, it builds experience, and it helps. It helps, and it just depends on much more so, kind of the experience factor. I would say a lot of the experience factor as far as an assistant coach. How are you going to take that into a head coach role? Because I feel like a lot of the times you have to be an assistant to be a head. You know,
yeah,
at least from what
definitely.
things I've seen, definitely. It's a big jump just going from club to head or whatever that case is. But yeah, definitely. I feel
Yeah,
like are you putting in the work as an assistant coach, and not comfortable. I feel like a lot of the times coaches can get a little comfortable in what they're doing in their programs, and and it's part of it. It goes back to can you be out of your comfort zone? Be out of your comfort zone.
yeah,
Can you go to? I know everyone. We all have families, and we all have things we need to take care of. But sometimes if you want it, sometimes that means to ask for you to move. And sometimes that's another conversation. Are you willing to make the sacrifice and move to Montana or Georgia or wherever the
yeah,
case is? So stuff like that also does happen, as far as
yeah,
environmental. But I mean, there's opportunities everywhere. I feel like this sport, college soccer, it's big. It's only getting bigger, and definitely there's opportunities everywhere, even at the JUCO level. And nowadays, coaches take the jobs because it's demanding and it's competitive. You know, um, and it's something they want to be a part of, and that's great.
yeah. And what's something you teach today that you wish you learned much earlier in your own playing journey?
I would kind of go back the emphasis of really much knowing I could have just knowing being ahead. I feel like being ahead of things, being proactive. I feel like if I was proactive when I was younger, even private trainings, I never did private trainings or asked for feedback when I was a kid. I was kind of always kind of shy and timid. And I never really much connected with my coaches. So for me, it was much more if I would have probably been a little bit more proactive. I feel like I would have been more open to really much, kind of grow and develop. And that kind of falls into like kind of like I said, it's wanting not only just the soccer aspect of what you're doing, but also like what you're doing wrong. Kind of getting feedback and
Yeah,
in that sense. So definitely being
yeah,
proactive. I would
definitely.
say proactive in feedback, and that's
And
something
then
that's
don't.
it's a big trait.
But
It's
yeah,
tough.
yeah,
It's tough to hear. Sorry, it's tough to hear like, hey, you're not excelling or you're not doing good in this X, Y, and Z. But it should have been something that I wish I would have done when I was younger, even playing.
yeah, definitely. Then what was key in your development as a young player to lead to your success as a player, whether it be tactically or technically?
My success more came more so of the tactical side of things. I was a player that, in the JUCO, I started off as a winger. I got recruited as a winger to CBU, and I ended up playing as a six in my two
Okay.
seasons, and we won back-to-back conference championships. So definitely, and it's because, like I said, it goes back to I've always been technical, just because I've always been with me in the soccer ball side, and when I was younger. So as far as the technical side, I feel like it's something that I put in the work, but the tactical side, it's something that's what stood out for me, in a sense where I made sure that I completed all my passes, that I didn't lose the ball more than twice a half. That was my expectation. If I had, even in the Division 1, if I had one turnover, two turnovers, I'd be hard on myself. Like, genuinely, I'd be hard on myself even if he had one. I'd be hard on myself, because I played almost similar to like Busquets, played very simple, and when one or two passes wouldn't connect, and it's something that you're like, what am I doing wrong? Or in the spaces, or maybe in the channels, that you're not in the channel. So definitely, as far as the tactical side, I understood it quite quickly. I feel like that's what kind of set me apart, as far as playing as a six, playing as a winger. I could play as a 10. So being very versatile, and not just being
Yeah.
okay, but being understanding like what that role required, and making sure that I always put the team first, even when. Because I was a natural midfielder at the JUCO level, I played winger, and I stuck it out. Then got recruited to play winger at CBU, and they needed a six, so I dropped in. So definitely, it's always what the team needed. I've always put the team first, and even to this day, I put others first, in anything I do. And it's a big part of my success, putting the team first, because then the good things come back.
Yeah, definitely. And then going through sort of your own recruiting journey, what was that like, and how did you choose to attend a JUCO, and then how did you figure out which program to choose moving into the NCAA and stuff?
Yeah. So I graduated, went to Cal Poly Pomona, and I didn't have
Okay.
support from my parents, as far as financial, and as far as just the mental side of things. Like, okay, like, we want you to go to a college institution and whatnot. And for me, it was rough. I genuinely fell into depression that whole year, and that's when I was like, you know what, like, I needed soccer in my life. I just did.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep playing. I knew I had it in me. And that's when I went back to the JUCO, kind of the JUCO world. And even then, it was challenging. It was competitive. It's not easy. Even there, you're grinding it every single day. But I was definitely very fortunate to get opportunities. And even then, that was during the COVID span as well. So
Yeah.
even COVID, like, I would go out to the field every day with no goals. I remember when they had locked the goals, with no goals, and making sure that I was putting in the work. I was like, you know what? At one point, I have something's gonna give, and so going into the fall season, it was kind of much more like, whatever opportunity comes, and I'm just gonna grasp it and take it and run with it. And I was thankful enough that Cal Baptist was the one, and I'm very proud of kind of my journey, of what it was.
Yeah. And then I know you said you needed football. I think many of us do. What made you fall in love with the game, bro?
What made me fall in love with the game? I feel like just everything as a whole has felt like, my family introduced me at a young age, 5 years old, and that's something that I've always loved. As far as talking about, it's dinner table. I thought I would talk about. So definitely just everything, just the game itself. I would say I wouldn't even say anything else. Just the game, being able to really much, compete, go out to practice, go play games, go to tournaments, just the game. I'd say just the game as a whole, because it gave me unique experiences. Even in the youth, I traveled to Poland, to South Korea, to Germany to represent the U.S. once for my club team. So definitely just the game. It's given me many opportunities as a player, as a coach, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, and then definitely like adversity is something that we all face, whether it be in life, as a coach or a player. There's always setbacks. How has adversity shaped you as a coach and as a player as well?
Yeah, so like, as a player, adversity have always like shaped me, as far as you know, making sure that like, even at adversity, when I went to a 4 year, and I wasn't, they told me, what, you're not good enough to be here, quote unquote, you're not at the level, what we want,
Yeah,
and I had to backtrack. So that's part of adversity that I had to change. I had to a mission to get to, as far as, okay, I was told that it was great feedback. As much as it hurt, it was great feedback. And I put in the work. I made sure, like, I was always the first one in training. I was making sure I was doing reps, extra things. And I feel like that's what kind of built character in me. And ever since then, ever since that moment, I remember every time adversity would hit, I would think about that moment of like, do I want to go back to that? Do I want to go back to that? And it's something that kind of stuck with me and helped me along the way. And as far as coaching, as far as adversity, something that um, I I know there's gonna be light at the end of the tunnel as far as for players, as far as for programs. So I know that, and I understand that based on the pro game. You see the pro game coaches just
Yeah.
yesterday. I think they fired the Man United coach. They fired the Man United coach, and it gives you an example. Like you can't be on a rise every time, so you can't be here every year, every minute. There's always going to be ups and downs, and it's okay to struggle through adversity. It's part of kind of the growth aspect as a coach as well, and kind of the journey. So definitely carries a long way.
And then this is one of my favorite portions, especially like I said, we work with youth. What life advice do you have for people?
Life advice, there's much more there's much more than playing. I feel like playing the game is great, but it teaches you a lot about yourself. It's
Yeah.
funny. It does. It really does. As far as like, are you disciplined? Are you someone that you're on time? And I feel like that replicates to when you're done playing soccer. Or can people trust you? Are you reliable? And all that soccer, football, like it helps you with all those things, with all those abilities after life. You know, and even in your work life, it helps you with that. It's little things like that you learn on the field, and you're like, yeah, the coach said this, I remember. But when you were younger, but you take those into account now, and you're like, yeah, like damn, coach was right when I was
Yeah.
8 years old or 9 years old. And so
Yeah, definitely.
it does carry a sense of discipline, carries a sense of responsibility, and it just prepares you. It prepares you for as far as what's next, as far as and you see it. You've seen it in research where you've seen athletes kind of take rise as far as what they do next because they're competitive. Their competitive nature allows them to be successful after college or after soccer. So definitely that's great to see. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Not everybody becomes a pro, and but a lot
Mhm.
of the things that you learn in soccer, and like you said, there's times when even now when I hear a coach's voice from when I was 11 or 12, oh, coach said this or that, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta apply this to my life as an adult,
Yeah. Hmm.
and working and other stuff. So it
Yeah.
definitely rings true there.
Yeah, and
And then
and
I
with
got
that,
some.
like no, yeah, like I said,
Go
even
ahead,
with
sorry,
through
I cut you.
adversity, like yeah, saying even through adversity, you learn that in the soccer field, so it applies to obviously when you have adversity, in the daily life, like how are you gonna tackle it on, and like I said, the sport allows you to really much like maneuver, kind of yourself in a way, like it helps you prepare for, like you said, if you're not pro, like what's after that, like it helps you kind of prepare very well. Obviously not everything, but it helps to prepare you well as far as the basics and the fundamentals of life.
Yeah, and then I got some quick fire questions for you, bro. What's your favorite
Yeah,
soccer club?
soccer club. I just finished watching Real Madrid.
Yeah, for sure. And then
Yeah, so
who's your favorite player?
my favorite player is Cristiano Ronaldo. I know that it's rough on the Messi fans, but someone that I've always admired. It's someone that he's 40 years old and he's still putting in the work and still playing as if he's playing his first pro game. For me, it's just yeah, I admire him in all the aspects. But yeah, favorite
Yeah.
player.
Yeah, I think definitely for both of them, they're definitely the goats, and their longevity is just insane. Nobody's ever done it that long.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%.
And then who's your footballing idol? I know it's probably Ronaldo, but some people have different footballing idols than say their favorite player.
Ooh, footballing idol. I would say it's funny. Cuauhtemoc Blanco? I don't know if you
Yeah,
know him. Cuauhtemoc Blanco. He's from yeah. He played in the Mexican national team.
yeah,
Played for America. I wish he would have played for Chivas. But he did something that was very unique, and that's obviously not only bring soccer into the community, but also like make it very sense of like tradition as far as what he used to do.
yeah,
Like I feel like he wore like his playing hard on his sleeve every time, and he embraced it. I feel like he embraced the Mexican tradition, and it felt like it embodied like what he was doing based off like his culture of what he grew up with, and it's like more like sabor, like taste, like he had like that in him.
yeah. Definitely, I think, like I said, a lot of the times. our favorite player may not be somebody who necessarily,
Hmm.
like I said, an idol, like somebody who made us fall in love with the game or see it differently.
Yeah.
So I always ask that question. And then another good one for you: what's your favorite jersey of all time? Your favorite soccer jersey of all time or football jersey of all time?
My favorite jersey of all time, I would have to say with the Real Madrid 2012 one, the one with the gold stripes and the folded. Uh, I think it was
Yeah,
like a polo. Polo. So that one was really nice. That one was classic. 20 and yeah.
yeah. And then as a player, even as a coach now, I would say what's your like pregame hype music? What kind of music are you listening to in the pregame?
Pre-game high music. I would say more like reggaeton. I feel like that's been kind of what's been kind of up and about right now as far as movement and positivity. Rap's good. I hear obviously listen to
Yeah.
rap here and there as well, but something that's obviously gonna like for me, I've never been always as a player. I've never been like come on, like it's more of like something that relaxes me, because obviously I'm gonna be so tensed up in the
Okay.
game. So so for
Yeah.
me, it's much more so like something I could dance to or make jokes up or sing. It's something that like gets my mind off the game for me.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that helped me.
And then,
I
then
learned that.
who?
I learned that helped me a lot.
Yeah, and then who would be like your favorite artist, your go-to artist?
I would keep it very, very popular. I would say Bad Bunny, favorite artist. Definitely puts great hits. Great hits. Very, it's just yeah, Bad Bunny.
And then what's your go-to or favorite jersey number to wear?
My go-to jersey number is 8. It's funny because I never realized it until probably when I was taking jerseys out of my drawer, like with my youth ones. I was always number 8, and I never paid attention to it. Yeah, so number 8's always been kind of my number. At CBU, I was number 8, so as well. Yeah, number 8's always kind of been, kind of stuck with me, and it's always been great because I was fortunate enough to win, two NCAA conference championships and two NCAA appearances as well. So I'm happy for that. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. That's all the
Hmm.
questions I have for you today though, bro. It was a pleasure hopping on to talk about college and talk about your organizations and just connect with you. And it's always great to have great coaches and people like you on here and to connect and just inform the community and build great relationships.
No, definitely. No, I appreciate, for having me. It's, I enjoy what you're doing and trying to really much, put yourself out there and obviously like putting everyone else out there to in the soccer world. It's something that I feel like it's needed just because we all get fixated in like who we know and like the advice, but sometimes hearing things from other people overall, it's great. It's great to hear. And I feel like it's a good impact not only for just people, it's just obviously for everyone, for everyone, whether that's soccer, not soccer, coaches, not coaches. I feel like it's a great platform. I, support everything you do and I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you just hopping on too. Like I learned so much as well, and I'm sure other people will learn a lot. I'll make sure that we get you tagged in here so that people can go give a
Yeah.
follow to Second Chance Football and keep up with what you're doing.
No, likewise, making sure that, we stay in touch and definitely, feel free, feel welcome to, always, if you're always out here or whatnot to come watch and hopefully meet up sometime.
For sure. Well, till next time, that's it for this episode.
Yeah,
Till next time, Coach Pena.
awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.